DRBMiller Daily Podcast for Saturday, 20th of March 2021. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants, squad mates and viewers worldwide on various platforms. Thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting the channel as well as our online gaming community on Twitch. Welcome to yet another episode of our new venture here on the channel. In fact, I'm very pleased to say that it's already our 6th episode, so we've been running it for 6 days on the trot, and that is truly wonderful. I'm astonished by number of messages I received, and what's interesting is I'm receiving messages after people watched and listened to the podcast on playback, so not many people amongst the ones who wrote actually watched us live, and I'm a bit sad, a bit sorry about this, because I like active participation and interaction as we are obviously talking about various community-based issues, but seeing that many messages coming in after people watched it on various platforms through playback is terrific, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. And I always enjoy receiving messages of support and your feedback whenever and wherever it comes from, so it's really truly humbling to have that many. And I think today, well, first of all, I want to ask you, how are you all doing? It's been a wonderful, beautiful, sunny spring day here in North London suburbs. In fact, it was the first day after about 6 months that I've actually seen sunlight. I've gone out during the day, and that's astonishing, really, considering I'm really a very, very outdoorsy type of person, and it's the lockdown that's caused me obviously all the issues, and I've been keeping myself indoors, doing my broadcasts, preparing various things for both film and gaming dialogue hubs online, and there is obviously voluminous work and research that goes into this, and the time just gone by, but not having vitamin D due to the absence of sunlight and not seeing daylight for that long has been definitely of concern. And there is a reason as to why I went out early today, and the reason is quite simple. Today's a wonderful day, I'm celebrating already. I've gone to have my COVID vaccine, and I've had it at 12 o'clock midday, and everything was just so perfectly organized. I've got to say, the way we've done it to the NHS and the way we are doing the vaccination in Britain is just literally incredible. I mean, being a health professional myself, I'm astonished by the quality of everything I've seen. It's my second encounter with the vaccination team, because I've gone in there in January for the seasonal flu jab for the first time in my life. I never needed any jabs for anything, and certainly I very rarely catch flus and colds, maybe once in a decade, but in view of this absolutely deadly, dreadful, ghastly pandemic and the virus that's been attacking us all, I obviously wanted to listen to the advice, and the advice came from the head of the NHS, who even wrote me a letter, believe it or not, reminding me of the fact that I'm in the age bracket where I'm considered to be of high risk, and therefore I definitely need to be having my seasonal flu jab. And I've gone in, organised, obviously booked an appointment straight away, and I had it mid-January, and therefore my COVID jab was a bit delayed due to the first jab of seasonal flu, but nevertheless the appointment was arranged last week, so I had to wait for about 10 days, but all in good order without any difficulty. And I've been there already once before, and it's just so well organized. It's 100% safe. You really do not meet anyone. It's like corridors, and you got a place allocated where you meet a nurse, and you go to the list of things that you need to know prior to the vaccine. You need to sign it. you need to prove your identity, but everything actually was waiting for the nurse out there. Before even I arrived, I had my NHS vaccination card, which waited for me there, as well as the list of information that I had to go through before being given it. And then the nurse also told me a few things that were necessary, the usual questions on any health conditions, allergies, any adverse reactions, any recent inflammations, high temperature within the last few days, any other reactions to medicaments like allergies or anything else. And it's the usual, and it literally took 10 seconds or less than 10 seconds for the vaccine to be administered. No reactions or side effects whatsoever. In fact, I have to say that after receiving the seasonal flu jab, I had a bit of muscular pain during the first couple of days. I mean, obviously still may get some of it, but this has been so painless and so well administered, and I'm so overjoyed and so happy to see that today we passed the mark of more than half of our adult population in the UK, so that's about 28 million people who had received the first jab. And this is truly astonishing achievement, considering that the mass vaccination started only in January, so it's less than 3 months, like 2.5 months, that we managed to vaccinate 28 million people, and that's mind-boggling. But I can tell you, the fact is, we have domestic production of the vaccine, which is absolutely fundamental. We have domestic distribution, we're not relying on any external suppliers, and we prepared the infrastructure already since the last summer. So everything was in place, and we were absolutely ready for the vaccination to start, with many people being drafted in as volunteers and additional assistants and helpers, on top of the usual medical and the NHS staff, and it just works perfectly. I'm astonished by the quality, and I worked in the health services for many years, and I was at the forefront of what we call the battle to save lives, and I know the difficulties, the liabilities, the risks and everything else, but having such massive government involvement and having obviously an infrastructure that's integrated with so many different sectors of our industries together under one centralized command has been giving us the best possible results, and that's the only way to do it. I'm afraid all the conspiracy theorists and individuals who are perhaps not as convinced, they need to consider this as a war-like situation. It is a war which we are fighting against the invisible enemy, so it's the most difficult war you can fight. Think about some sort of alien force attacking Earth and we could not see it. It's that sort of thing. It's utterly devastating, utterly dreadful, and the only way to fight it is through, first of all, a complete and total unity on all fronts, through centralized command, where you have one authority that's regulating and coordinating the effort, and then building the infrastructure, which is fundamental. In fact, in my local area, our mass vaccination centre is a local theatre, and this local theatre has been basically completely rebuilt from within to provide facilities for mass vaccination, and it's extraordinary how well it's basically giving us all that we need. So I'm really happy, and after I had my vaccine today, I've gone for a very large lunch, which is something I've not had for 12 months, because obviously I don't go out during the day. So I've gone to Glenn's trailer, and this is a chap who does wonderful fry-ups and grills from his trailer only on Saturdays here in Hertford, and I really asked him for the house special, which he made, and it was delightful. It's probably the best house special, the grill, I would have had ever. It just tasted so good, and I was so happy. And I purposely wanted to have a high-calorie meal because, in order to get the first adrenaline really with the vaccine in the biochemistry of mine, and it does help if you have quite a big meal in order to accelerate the entire creation of antibody. I mean, generally, basically through your digestion and the high energy levels which you have, you are kind of enabling your body to be assimilating the intake of antibodies, and it certainly worked very well. Went for then for a lengthy walk and enjoyed my stroll to the park, had hot chocolate. It was just really absolutely wonderful, terrific Saturday morning and early afternoon. I did mention yesterday that I'm not going to be streaming any games today and tomorrow because I want to have a nice peaceful weekend whilst I'm, getting on with my vaccine and the build-up of antibodies from within, and it will take probably a few days for me to feel completely at ease with it. I'm a bit sensitive to certain medicaments, and therefore I have to take it really with a particular care. I need to be very careful not to be doing something that could be upsetting the entire biochemistry or biochemical processes that take place after you get vaccinated. But as I said, it's just absolutely pain-free and side effect-free so far. Even no stiffness, and we'll have to see. Maybe within 24, 48 hours we may get some minor side effects, but I think we are monitoring the side effects overall, and as you've seen in Britain, we've had no serious incidents of any form of adverse reactions amongst 28 million people who received the vaccine, and that's quite different to what they had in Europe, and I'm not sure really what would have caused it, because it's the same vaccine coming from AstraZeneca, and it appears that the distribution in Europe is going directly from the factories and supplies in Belgium and France, I think. But Belgium is the main distribution center, and one of the dispatches there did have some issues. Not sure what's caused it, but I'm sure it's going to be thoroughly investigated, and you need to also understand that having a mass production that requires hundreds of millions of doses to be produced in a very, very short period of time is a huge challenge for such companies, and I'm certain doing the very best, but there could be sometimes issues arising. I think the difference here in Britain is that we began the process very, very early, because we realized already after the first month that the illness is so devastatingly deadly that the only proper line of defense that we'll have, in addition to very strict lockdown and social distancing measures, will be a full vaccination of the entire people of our country, and that's exactly what we worked on from there on. And there are the results, and if you look at the stats, it does indicate the virus has been cornered, and the number of cases is significantly dropping from 75,000 a day to about 7,000 a day, from 1,200 dead per day down to about 70, 80, or even 101. But, it's just wonderful to see that. It's wonderful to see that, because in some other countries it's actually the other way, and my heart sinks when I see it. I want every single life to be spared, to be saved. I want the vaccine to be distributed everywhere, so every single person could have the full benefit, not just with one jab, but the full vaccination of the two together. And it will take time, but I've got to say that people need to be adhering to the rules, to the measures. I mean, today is the first day I would have gone out in 6 months, so I've seen lots of people up and about. We live in a market town, which means on Saturday there is a major kind of market stall based activity, and I got to say that there were too many people walking around without masks or face coverings, and it's just, I've not seen that otherwise. If you went in the evening to shops and you like Tesco's and supermarkets, everyone would have the mask on. But today, up and about, and specifically also when I went to our local park, when I walked around there, sadly, I've seen lots of people without masks, and also gatherings of like larger groups of people, up to 7, 8 people talking together and walking, and I just seemed. I mean, do you think you're immune, or do you think you're just invincible? Do you not think that you might be actually transmitting the virus to somebody at home, like for instance your elderly parents or people who have some health conditions? I don't understand it. But that, that's the mystery of human mind, and it's just the way people are. People do sometimes behave in a way which is unbelievable, and there's no better way to see that. But after you visit the war zone, and you will get to an area where absolutely everything's destroyed and ravaged by fierce fighting, you have some elderly people strolling about and going about their own ways and not being bothered. And you ask them, what are you doing in there? Because I'm old, I need to die, I don't care, whatever happens, if God willing, just will survive, if not I'll go the other way. And you just think, well, hang on a minute, it's just a bit unbelievable. You really do not want to be there. but there's such massive, serious fighting nearby and all this. But what I'm trying to describe is human mind is a mystery, and people behave in very, very different ways based on their own psyche, their own, frame of mind, and they will be indeed finding out the ways to which they believe they're going to be surviving a difficult situation that needs to be gone through, and living through the pandemic is one of these. So anyway, to summarize, a wonderful day for me. A very, very bright, sunny spring day, also quite warm. It was ideal for a nice stroll in the park, for a very nice fry up, which I had in a massive big sandwich on French bread, and he did produce a wonderful, wonderful meal. And I told him, I've seen him before. He's there every Saturday, and I popped in a little while back to ask him about the meals, and I said I'm gonna pop in one day, and I'm gonna be very hungry, and that day was today. Today was today. So I said to him afterwards, this was just tip-top. It was one of the best grills I've ever had, and I'm definitely going to be coming back. I'm definitely going to be coming back, and definitely, and I will not have it obviously every single day, but I will be coming there from time to time in order to recharge batteries, particularly when I feel that the energy jab, the boost is absolutely necessary. And after that, having a lengthy stroll was very, very pleasant. So in fact, today I'm going to have two dinners: an early one around 1 o'clock, which was like a brunch stroke lunch, and then another dinner around 8 o'clock tonight, the usual, which I have grilled vegetables with 6 salads, all kinds of sauces, Turkish bread, and a wonderful drink together. But it's just absolutely ideal. I can't complain. I really think that if I was to be considering the different ways to which I can boost my immune system, well, that certainly is the very best. Walking 10 miles a day, fresh air in our nature reserve, and eating the healthiest possible food. Absolutely no, greasy spoons or crisps and snacks and these types of things. Just really resorting to the very best boiled or grilled vegetables, obviously, and salads and fresh food, and freshly prepared, freshly cooked and delivered is the very best. I really don't eat much from supermarkets, and I do not really like buying vegetables from there either, because I don't find them to be particularly nourishing. So I always resort to fresh produce from our local market, which is on Saturday, and they really have organically grown food. They have vegetables and eggs and ham and bread, which is locally produced, and absolutely fantastic, because it's very hard to get this nowadays in big cities, and we have the privilege being in the suburbs, and therefore having it, because our town was for about 500 years the major market town in our local area in the county, and is very, very well known for this. But due to the way things are, all of that type of trading had been just shrinking bit by bit, and eventually people just went to supermarkets. And it's fantastic if you are a fan of British history, if you are perhaps from other countries, if you're not really born and bred here in our country. I know that lots of people from the US, they also have, due to the ancestry, a great passion for history of England in particular, I have to say, but also they're quite interested in history of the Isles. And we have a wonderful hub called Britain on Film. It is run by the British Film Institute, and it is accessible online free of charge. So anyone who's interested can simply go to film Britain on Film, and then access an enormous amount of footage, which goes back, well, from the initiation of film in 1895, and there are absolutely remarkable feature films, short documentaries, and films made on Super 8 and 16mm by amateurs, people just documenting the local area. So, incidentally, I was quite interested in the local area where I live, where in fact I also partly grew up. And I found some footage from the 1950s and the 60s from our local area, which was, really beautifully representing all that's been present, in the local environment during those periods. And I found some very, very interesting vignettes and anecdotes and buildings and parts of our towns which are no longer there, sadly, like for instance palatial cinemas which were gone, and various other places of interest. So really great, for any form of research if people are interested, and you can discover some very, very interesting trivias some related to history and all that is basically connected to your local area. And you have also something on the search engine through which you can be accessing various parts of the country and get filters, and very easy to get to very many of those films. So anyway, just a bit of trivia for everyone. Alright, so today there is going to be no major live online stream with gaming, but we'll have our usual daily podcast. We'll talk about community based issues, and we'll have quite a lot of news from the industry as well. It's been a very busy week industry wise. As you know, we had Bethesda games coming on the Xbox Game Pass, the streaming services, 20 titles accessible through cloud, console and PC. And then also we've had one big presentation on Thursday, I think it was, Square Enix Presents, which in fact was the very first one they ever created. And I've got to say, it was terrific. I watched it last night. I'll tell you a bit about it. I'll tell you a lot about it in a moment. But first of all, I have some questions from the community, and I think in view of the fact that this podcast is a new venture here on the channel, and we had quite a few messages coming in, then I think it's always very fitting and respectful to be addressing them first. So we have a message from Sally. Sally is from Brighton. Brighton is a city in England, down south, and she says, hi Daniel, so great to see that you are now running a podcast, and I really enjoyed your introductions on Destiny and Elder Scrolls streams, and I really enjoyed the discussions on graphic novels and places of interest in London where people can get hold of some of those rare comics. I will go there and I will have a look at the Notting Hill shop you recommended. It did sound like a wonderful place, and I want to ask you what's happened to your Elder Scrolls and other RPG open world streams, because you've had them a little while back, but they were not featuring of late. You've gone down the route of Destiny and Warzone primarily, and Apex. So what will happen next with Elder Scrolls? Well, thank you first of all, Sally, for taking time to write, and thank you for asking such wonderful, very important questions. Sally will remember that I talked at length. I talked at length about Elder Scrolls and described many origins of these RPG games and Bethesda creations. I think when I started out with my streams on Twitch, and we were going to be dedicating quite a big chunk of our time here to Elder Scrolls Online, because this was a game freshly released, and we're all very excited about it, and we played quite a bit of it through, I think, two or three different characters, and I had these streams done both on PlayStation and then later on Xbox, so definitely very much of interest. And the Elder Scrolls Online is accessible through streaming services on both consoles. It's very easy to just crack on with some gaming. But coming back to the question, well, I've not been able, first of all, to run maybe 2 or 3 separate open worlds at once, and I had to take a decision. The first 3 big games that were on my mind, that I believed would have the greatest number of participants because of the open world, were Destiny to start with, which I consider to be probably the one with the biggest community. Then there was Elder Scrolls, and that's not just Elder Scrolls Online, it was Elder Scrolls overall, right? And that would include Oblivion and Morrowind and Skyrim. And then the third one was Mass Effect, right? Mass Effect having huge number of followers, and the game that's been run for a long while, very, very popular, and indeed my favorite game of all time still. The trilogy overall, if I'm to single out one of these 3, then certainly Mass Effect 2 would be probably the most revolutionary, the most genre-breaking amongst those all. And therefore I sort of toyed with the idea. I considered, well, which community is likely to cotton on first, and we have to really test it and try it. So the idea was to throw in 3 communities, and then it's not really like the first come first take basis, but it was basically me examining the community and finding out which group of people will appear to be most interactive, and which one amongst the 3 streams will actually bring the greatest number of participants. So I think Destiny turned out to be exactly that. and we had in no time to migrate, to my surprise in fact, a huge amount of participants, and therefore Destiny just overtook. So we had Destiny for, I'd say, anything between 18 to about 20 months here on my channel, and that was primarily Destiny 1. And Destiny 1 is still greatly played and greatly loved game, and I had also messages from the US from some of our veterans who were kind of correcting me, because I stated a few times on my broadcast that I believe lots of veterans migrated to Destiny 2, and I thought that there were fewer streamers and viewers of the original game, but that is not the case. That's definitely wrong. It's just my assumption, or maybe partly based on my experience of some of the participants live online. But the overall community of Destiny 1, or people who are still engaged with the original game, is very, very vibrant, active, and great. And therefore they reminded me of the fact that if we were to be still carrying on with our community, we can still go back to the original game and then reconnect. So Destiny 1 had a huge amount of hours here on my channel, and the community was indeed very, very vibrant, very connected. In so much that at times we were running some PvP tournaments and we had people queuing up and booking the spaces a few days in advance. All of that subsided, I'd say, towards the end of year 2019, and as we approached the last year, so it would have been just before the pandemic, I felt that due to the year 2 involvement of many of the veterans with seasonal content on the sequel, we had some people departing from that community, and they were grinding and collecting gear and exploring the open world, and it was just a massive amount of content. Therefore I did exactly the same. I've gone to Destiny 2, we played it on my Warlock quite a bit, and completed lots of quests and missions, did the regular sessions of Iron Banner and Guardian Games and Ava Levant and Seasons, and the usual, the Easter season, as well as the one at Christmas. And I just felt that Destiny 2 community was not providing us with the same degree of interactivity. For whatever reason, we didn't have the same number of people who were indeed present every day for the original game coming to enjoy the sequel. So therefore, when I was considering what games to stream, Destiny did turn out to be the one providing us with the greatest, the most vibrant community. I did have some participants when streaming Elder Scrolls Online, but I've not given it a lengthy shot. I think if you want to build a community on a particular game or with a particular game, you really need to give it a shot for about 6 months. Like 3 months is a build-up, and the other 3 months is just making sure that things are trickling along. And I've not given it that period of time which would be necessary. So Elder Scrolls had been placed on back burner, but I had played Oblivion and Skyrim outside of my regular daily broadcasts, and certainly in view of Bethesda acquisition, and now having all the games easily accessible through Xbox Game Pass, we are going to be bringing in Elder Scrolls, and that will be the entire series. So we'll start probably with Morrowind, and then we'll progress to Oblivion, and then Skyrim, and then we'll do Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, I know that Elder Scrolls Online is very popular, as it has a lot of seasonal content, and we've just seen yesterday on this week on Xbox, they're also introducing the latest DLC, and the beauty of it is you can access it at during different parts of the year, and you can subscribe to certain things, you can purchase new content, and for the vast majority of us who are on the streaming services, we can get in at any time and play the vast majority of the content. So I think Elder Scrolls Online will not be at the forefront. I mean, we may try it from time to time, but I don't think it will be at the forefront, as I still feel, although I really love it, I still feel that the original games were superior, right? So it's a bit like when you're looking at Fallout 76 compared to Las Vegas and 4 and 3. There are pros and cons, there are similarities, there are differences, and obviously the other games were not giving you an ever-evolving world, which is the latest model that both Bungie and Bethesda and many other developers are presently offering. And Ubisoft, for instance, with Far Cry and The Division, and that's the most popular model of today. But still, if you want to follow a strong story, if you want to be involved with lots of quests, you want to be kind of embraced, by that massive big open world, then the older games will probably still be topping it. And I want to just tell you, Sally, that another game that I played quite a lot, and I also was doing partly the promotion for the game when it came out, is Bless Unleashed. And Bless Unleashed is very similar to Dungeons and Dragons and to Elder Scrolls and Neverwinter. A wonderful game, really enjoyable, really good story, loads of characters, and easy in-game mechanics. And anyone who likes open world will love Bless Unleashed. In fact, I was reminded of the fact that the game is celebrating its first year anniversary right now, and I will be streaming it in view of that. I'm always very keen on doing, some streams and some promotion when you are celebrating that milestone achievement. You've been around for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and we have quite a few of these anniversaries presently on our plate. The first one was indeed of Apex, celebrating its 2nd year. Then we had another 1 year, the 1st year anniversary, actually just commencing. I think it's on Tuesday, of Modern Warfare, Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, right? Modern Warfare Warzone. I'm getting that all up. It's Warzone basically. Its 1st year anniversary. Then we had PUBG celebrating its 4th, so that's a fantastic achievement. And the most recent is Bless Unleashed, celebrating its 1st year. I think it is also this week. So I do remember Warzone and Bless Unleashed coming out roughly at the same time, beginning of last year. So really very excited about that. And just before I began my broadcasting today, I double-checked the update, which was installed overnight, and I had a look at it, and everything works perfectly. The game has been, I think, upped for 4K and the next gen. The graphics look better than before, and also on my Bravia setup, it's absolutely mouth-watering, because when I played it and streamed it last during the promotional weeks, I did it on a separate setup, which was great, but not as fantastically mouth-watering and jaw-dropping as this one is, and therefore I really like doing open world games on it, because I have a very kind of highly immersive experience. I really feel fully part of that world, and that is what we'll do with Bless Unleashed. So, coming back to Sally, Elder Scrolls will come back, and they will come back through Macbeth Festival. Macbeth Festival is celebrating Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda, and obviously faster gamers the privilege of being able to access all these games instantly through the streaming services. And we already are well underway with Fallout 3. We are progressing rapidly forward. Already engaged with, I think, 2 separate DLCs, and for whatever reason they popped up so early, and it's strange. I thought we'll do the game in a linear fashion, follow the story, but they just came so early, and I just followed the instructions and the directions that the game was giving us. And also what's interesting is, although officially Fallout 3 had not been remastered, we've not had like a legendary remastered edition or anything of that sort. I've got to say that the addition or the update that I had on my latest Fallout 3 game that I have on Xbox One looks very much like the next gen remastered version. It's incredible. The frame rate's been upped, and it performs a lot better than the old one, which I played on 360. In fact, I discovered yesterday I played it in 2010 last, and I think the gaming period would have been from 2008 to about 2010, about 2 years of Fallout 3, and I played it quite extensively, kind of back to back, so to speak, and loved it, and I've not gone back to it since. So going back to Fallout 3, which I would consider probably to be the original open world game. The first 2 were very much of a RTS type of PPC games, compared to what happened later with Bethesda coming in, and I just loved it. at the time, and it was just very fitting that we'll celebrate this Bethesda's acquisition and merger with Microsoft by actually focusing on Fallout 3, because I really think for myself, as a lover of open world, I played Diablo before, and Fallout 3 for me was the first big open world game that I really kind of played back to back, and I got my teeth in and enjoyed everything. And I remember playing it for the first time. I thought, my goodness, there are so many side quests, there's so many interesting detail in there, plenty of story driven content, and I found fascinating at the time that I would get a different type of outcome if I played maybe my character more aggressively than what I usually do. So I have immediately three separate methods, three different sides of that character that will provide you with a different outcome, and still find it fascinating today. The game doesn't look dated at all, it really looks and feels contemporary, and I really kind of loved it. And its references at the time were to Half-Life, first of all, the game I absolutely adored on PC 8-9 years beforehand. Also had it in Ultimate Editions, played it a lot on my PC. Half-Life was my favorite game for many years, and before I really entered the world of Fallout and Mass Effect. And what was interesting in Half-Life was that you can't talk really about Half-Life having a massive open world, but it was a mysterious world out there which you had to be exploring, with lots of dangers and unpredictabilities, where Gordon Freeman, the leading scientist, the character who was caught up there with a major nuclear accident, needs to survive, and he needs to get through it all. And the major influence on so many games that include obviously Fallout 3, the Fallout series, as well as Stalker series, and Stalker is coming out with its sequel very shortly, and we had Metro, the list just goes on and on. Anyway, coming back to this, we are already proceeding with Macbeth Festival. I decided that Fallout 3 was going to be the main game for us to enjoy initially, and then we'll progress to others. And yet again, I'm going back to Sally and her question. Elder Scrolls will be back, but not through Elder Scrolls Online. The game was streamed here previously several times. I should say during certain periods within the last 3 years. We'll be looking at Morrowind. Morrowind will be the first one, and we'll start out on that game, and then proceed to Oblivion and then Skyrim, because we want to have continuity. These are the games that require continuity, and if you're doing them bit by bit, you can come in and go over a period of time, and you will need to really find yourself well embedded within the story-driven content to understand what's actually going on. I personally find, outside of my streams, to be playing games like that maybe for 2 hours a day, and that means I would come in sometime halfway through my evening, and I'll just have 90 minutes of activity. And the way I'll measure my activity is by completing certain quests. So I complete a quest which is quite difficult, and I say, alright, that's enough for today, we'll come back to it tomorrow and move on to something else. And you can combine it with maybe another Battle Royale type of game that doesn't require continuity but does need skill, time and effort and experience, and a regular squad. And then you can also combine it maybe with a game which is a kind of a co-op story driven game, and so I have three different types, three different subgenres of a massive big open world with loads of activity, like infinite type of options and outcomes. You have Battle Royale, which requires regular matches, but you can do them at any time. And then you will have maybe a game where you will depend on your mate there to do co-op, and you will be looking at story-driven content yet again. You can get a moderate amount, maybe 90 minutes a day or something. I think Joseph Fares reminded me of this when I watched his interview with Jeff and Larry on Xbox podcast a couple of weeks ago, where he said, well, who really cares about replayability? You really want to enjoy the game, and it doesn't really matter whether this game is going to have a lengthy shelf life, whether people replay it 50 times. What you want is for people to replay the game because they just love the characters, they love the story, and they have plenty to do. I think that's very important, because the games like Destiny and Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online are pursuing a different stream of thought. They want to provide a lot of content which is perhaps not always replayable, but it's always new. There's always something else to do, And if you missed out on certain content, like in Destiny, you can go to one of the hubs and you collect certain tasks, you redo them again, or you do them for the first time, or you can replay certain missions. So it gives you like an infinite number of opportunities to try out different ways through which you will do a certain activity, and that's enjoyable. It's just a different model. I think Joseph was saying that he prefers to have a linear storytelling with co-op involvement, and therefore you will not be getting different types of outcome, but you will be getting a different experience of the game depending on who you played with. And it's just a different model, different mindset. He also did say that having a game that gives you about 40 to 50 hours seems sufficient. And I've got to say, his new game, I've watched trailers, just looks really terrific. But there are different ways to which games could be delivered. And I listened to, I can't remember his name now, actually, unfortunately, I have to apologise. He is a chap who worked previously for various indie companies, developers, and recently he also rejoined Microsoft. And then he talked about these sort of 4 stages of online gaming development, and he did say that the latest development, he thought Fortnite probably would be the best example, but I would add games like Apex and Warzone and PUBG to be shoulder to shoulder to Fortnite. And I guess the interview I listened to was released about a year ago, so still some of the ideas already have been, I guess, outflanked by the most recent developments. He talked about a game like those 4 mentioned being not just a game, but this is like a social network. It becomes the community hub. It becomes the means to which people always want to meet others and then carry on with their connectivity and interaction. And absolutely agree, because I had this experience already on 3 games. I had it on Destiny, I had it on Apex, and then most recently we had it with Warzone. We had a community being built from scratch, and that community being there every single day for one reason alone: to meet the same lot of guys, to talk about similar issues, to share what they've gone through during a day, and also to crack on with some video gaming online, live, together with the same crew. It becomes an entity through which you are making new connections and becomes the most important part of your day. So it's no longer a game, it is the means to which you are connecting with others, and frequently with people who you've never met before, but sharing the same interests, the same sort of passion for what you do, and therefore you have the opportunity to make new contacts, to make new friends, to exchange ideas. We had a new community member here who joined Warzone community recently, and he said to us, before I joined Warzone community, and that would have been about 10 months ago, he was not there from the beginning, I used to watch Sky News, and I was reading Twitter, Facebook, and a few other hubs in order to get the news. And he said I would be looking at tweets and exchanging news with other friends, and that. He says, today I've done away with that all. I don't really care at all what's happening on Sky or Twitter. I get my news entirely from my friends on Warzone, and people come in every day, a group of about maybe half dozen, and they talk about the activities and whatever is hot out there. All of them live in different countries, so he plays games with people who are based in Italy, in Germany, in Finland, in Sweden, in Netherlands, in Britain, in France. So it's like, Northern European countries, and everyone from that group will tell them about the state of the lockdown. They'll tell them about the recent developments politically in those countries. They'll tell them about anything new that's been happening, and he gets all the news from that community. So that's astonishing. That is just the next stage of video gaming, and our friend from Microsoft was, with some excitement describing this discovery, which in fact is just making it a lot more significant and a lot more meaningful to many people worldwide, and particularly so during the lockdown. I've got to say, from 2.5 billion we've gone to 4 billion people playing games every single day, and that is just an astonishing achievement. But people don't come there to play games alone. They come there in order to socialize, to chat, as you've seen with our friends Paphos and Spurs, the members of our Warzone community. they simply cannot wait every single day to get together with the rest of us, and they're just waiting for that 5 o'clock p.m. where they all get together and we'll play our games. And it's really a wonderful experience for me, because those chaps didn't know each other before they kind of connected through my channel, and to see how they grew and to see what bonds they created and how important these bonds became to their lives is truly humbling. And I mean, as a senior mental health professional, somebody who worked in the field for many years, I did see that in our living community and out there, and it was very difficult to get that degree of connection to get established within a short period of time, through the conventional means. But today we're living in a different era, and I've been astonished, and I'm very proud of all that's been achieved. I think coming back to Elder Scrolls is a similar sort of game compared to Destiny and Warzone, that has a very large community of people and gamers attached to all activities, and I personally want to see that on my channel too. I'm actually considering whether in the future we could have some other streamers creating a like a franchise, like a subgroup, where we have DRBMiller channels, not a channel, and then each one will have maybe a community attached to a particular game. So that would be maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and we certainly open to the idea, because when I started out the channel I was not really clear on how everything would evolve. I just thought, it's an experiment, we'll find out, maybe we'll have like 10 people coming in, a period of 10 months, and we'll have a few chats. It turned out to be something completely different, and became very busy, and every day is a challenge. I have my system, I have my plan. I've got my plan here for today for the podcast, and it all depends on what kind of comes in. And sometimes we'll have participants coming in, and they'll start talking about issues which concern them. We have Paperclip popping in frequently here for my daily podcasts, and we had Jerry popping in, which is absolutely fantastic. We've not heard from Jerry for quite some time. Sekapupu comes in very frequently, and we have plenty to talk about. What I'm trying to say is that you can have a plan of action, but you also, as a broadcaster, needing to pay attention to what comes from your community, and keeping your communities alert, vibrant, energetic, and happy. And first of all, you want to have a community that feels fully listened to. If people write questions and messages, you don't want them to be kind of swept under the carpet and forgotten. You want responses, and we've seen that from Jonathan the other day. He came twice really with questions about graphic novels. He basically picked up one of my postings on Twitter, and then he went to my profile. He saw that I'm a great fan of graphic novels, and he wants to find out more about what graphic novels he liked, what graphic novel was best represented in video gaming. He thought maybe Batman, Avengers, whatever. And it's very hard to tell, in fact. It's very hard to tell, because graphic novels are like one medium, and video games are providing you that personalized type of interactivity. You become an active participant, and it varies. I think what they've done with the World of Avengers recently, and yesterday they announced also some DLCs and new content, I thought was truly wonderful, but very different, significantly different to what you would have had if you just read the graphic novels. It's a lot more dynamic, it's a lot more open world based, with flexible characters, with lots of new content, with you needing to complete certain tasks to go forward. I think the graphic novels are fairly linear and fairly predictable, so it's step up, and certainly opening up many horizons of ideas, and very compatible, because somebody wants to read stories, then just resort to graphic novels. Somebody wants to be one of the heroes and battle the enemies, then come in and do the video game. And so absolutely fantastic, and it was great, really. So his cue was really my profile description, because I keep saying that's my passion for comics and graphic novels has been lifelong, and from Dragon Empire, Dawn of Lawrence's to Destiny, it's been a full circle. And then the story just went on, and I reminisced about my Notting Hill days and Portobello Road and the shops in there and all this. And it's astonishing. I mean, honestly, it's astonishing. I talked about this here on my podcast, and you have Jonathan from London, and you have Sally from Brighton, both interested in that one shop, and they want to go there. And Sally will go there next time she can travel to London, which is not going to be very soon, and she'll discover all the joys of graphic novels and all the enlightening moments of collectors hubs, which all we had if we went to these comic strip fairs and collectors fairs and various live events, where you simply spend the whole day browsing through various issues and discovering things that you've never seen before, and holding in your hand the first edition of a particular book, or Arthur Conan Doyle's the first Sherlock Holmes, or for a collector, that's a moment to treasure. And I bought lots of graphic novels. The only trouble for anyone who doesn't live in London is you got to be a regular visitor. Similar to charity shops, it's all dependent on what comes in. So if you have a collector bringing in regular dispatches on a particular day, and you don't really know when those issues will come in, it's very difficult for the guys in the shop to be keeping it under the counter for you to have a look, because of the sheer number of stuff that comes in. So it is really very important for a particular collector to be popping in frequently. And I live locally, I live around the corner, and it was like 15-20 minutes walk from Portobello Road to Pembridge, and able to do it. And ever since I've gone from Notting Hill to Alexandra Palace, wasn't living nearby, couldn't go there every day, and therefore I was already away from it. So really, probably from the mid-90s, probably late 90s onwards, it was last 22-23 years, I've not been a regular. But prior to that, I was the most regular customer for obvious reasons, and I absolutely love Kensington. Kensington's a wonderful area of London, and lots of interesting places in there. Also, it's a real cultural centre, and it's been traditionally a meeting place for many people who worked in the arts, specifically the writers, some film directors and actors, but also very many people involved in theatre. Loads of people lived in there over the years, actors and theatre personalities. So really great stuff, and plenty of places of interest. And obviously, for anyone who is a bookworm like myself, being able to go to a shop where you will get first editions and the publisher's copies of certain books, like pre-release copies, has been a revelation. I remember having some of the books in there for the first time, that I've never even known that such books could be acquired. And then you will have, for instance, the publisher's copies that were sent to the major newspapers, the London Review of Books, or the Guardian, or the Daily Telegraph, and somebody who reviewed the book has got no more interest in it. They've read it, they reviewed it. There's no place, particularly if they didn't like the book, they don't want to keep it, and therefore they just make sure that it finds a very, very good new home, and that's exactly what it did. So once again, thanks to Sally for her questions and very, very illuminating comments. I'm very glad to see that Jonathan and Sally are enjoying our podcast and the channel overall, and so that's great. And also want to say to them, if you have any other questions in response to what I said, or if you want to ask more about specific graphic novels, just feel free to drop us an email or a tweet at any time. I'd be very, very glad to respond. And indeed, if you want to come to live forum, let me know. We can run a live forum here or on Discord, and we can chat, we can publicize it, we can bring in other chaps from the US and from France. I actually want to bring in people from Netherlands, Belgium and France when it comes to graphic novels and albums and comic strip collecting, because those countries have been leading the effort. Those countries have been producing a huge number of titles over the years, and Belgium, I'd say probably amongst them all, is the most representative, the country that is at the forefront of anything that happens with graphic novels in Europe. And if you go to Brussels and you walk to the town centre, you will see an enormous amount of attention given to some of the chaps and the characters from some of the stories. And I've been to a couple of shops in the very heart of Brussels, where you walk in and suddenly there's a life size of Lucky Luke in there, Dalton Brothers, or Asterix and Obelix. Just wonderful. Anyone who had those graphic novels in their possession, people grew up with, some of them will be delighted. And I think today, as we live in the world of Instagrams and selfies, what better way to spend your time in Brussels but to pop in and take some selfies and post them to Instagram, share them with your friends. The same thing applies to video games. France being the very, very major nation of video game developers, with Ubisoft in particular, and you come to some of the places in Paris and Lyon and Nice, and they're wonderful. I remember, I'm trying to think what city this was. I think it was in Paris. Before they released Bayonetta, on PlayStation 3, I went into one of the shops and it was incredible. It was just like walking into the video game itself. It was jaw-dropping. And I guess, in the US they'll have companies like Bethesda and Naughty Dog, and that they're having their own pavilions with exhibits, and almost certainly some shops in some places as well with life-size statues of characters like Ellie and Joel and The Last of Us, and it's just great. Anyone who is a fan of those types of medias will always be very, very interested in discovering such shops and vicinities where you can really kind of fully immerse. Another question from our community members, and this is John from Manchester. He said, I love your Warzone. What's happened to it? Where are you guys? When are you going to be back? Well, thank you, John. I've had actually a few questions coming in this week in response to the absence of Warzone streams, and I'm grateful. It's great to see that you guys really love our content, and there was also a question the other day coming in and addressing Spurs and Paphos, and the buddy type of elements in there. I didn't really bring it up here as yet. I'll respond to it very, very shortly. And so the question coming from John is in Manchester, and he's also a COD veteran, is about Warzone on their channel. Well, I talked about it this week, and at the moment I'm on a break from Warzone. I've had it for 6 months, almost every day. Not almost every day, I had it for 6 months, and it was from the end of September to about 2 weeks ago here in March of 2021. So I have generally applied a policy of like a seasonal approach, similar to what I have with online PvP games. So I have a season of my broadcast, then I have a break, and then we come back to it. I think Warzone, Apex and PUBG are ideal for regular slots, but I think with Warzone, more than with the other two games, I had this degree of regularity and connectivity which is identical to what we had established here with Destiny. And we had some issues with some of the participants recently in our streams, and I talked yesterday about the creation of the regiment, which is created by myself and James Carter, who's also one of the original members of our Warzone group. And we really wanted to have two different things. We want to have one lot of people that will be presented live on air within my channel and with regular broadcasts, and the other was to do with the regiment. The regiment was created primarily so that people from different parts of the world can always find somebody to play the game with, because we felt that doing it with the randoms generally on regular basis was not a good way of doing the game. It was frustrating. It was not giving us particularly entertaining type of experience, and frequently we would get into situations that were potentially causing some conflict, meaning you're doing a quad and you have a team of 4 where people are doing their own thing, and obviously from the word go you can see that somebody is not respectful to other gamers, and we absolutely disagreed with that sort of selfish, self-centered, egotistical approach to what otherwise is a fully based team effort gaming, and we therefore created a regiment that is called Teamwork, Buybacks and Comms, TW, BB and C. Now, it's nothing to do with BBC like British Broadcasting Corporation. It means buybacks and comms. What this means is that anybody who's in the regiment will need to be, first of all, displaying a full team effort. Secondly, they will need to be always doing buybacks, so they need to get a lot of contracts, a lot of money early in order to bring people back when they get killed, because everyone in our regiment, in our squads, gets killed all the time. So we need to have enough money to bring them back in. And comms is about audio comms, because we can't be playing multiplayer unless we can hear each other. You know, if you have no radio in the field of operations, you're dead. It's as simple as that. And the regiment is not an integral part of Warzone Community Live Online. Like, it's a separate thing. It belongs to Activision activities. So quite frankly, what happens with the regiment is not solely my responsibility, because there are people in there who are associated with James and with Spurs and who were brought in by themselves, and I will always monitor the activity live online, the participants who are also members of our community here on Twitch, and different types of rules apply, you know, because the members of the regiment have to succumb or subscribe to the overall rules that they have, but if they are live online, they will have to be obviously following the guidelines as issued by Twitch and myself. So we had some issues in there, as some of the participants are very much used to the mature content with a lot of swearing, a lot of aggression, the competitive spirit, which is part and parcel of COD generally. And on the channel in here, I do not have any of that, because this is a learners channel, a channel that's based on our community efforts and content. And also we have here an approach which is called as all-inclusive. You know, we want to bring in people with serious illness, with disabilities, with all kinds of other hardships, so that the experience of our community here live online gives them, first of all, an opportunity to connect and to feel really relaxed and under no pressure whatsoever. Warzone is a game that can be seen as very pressurizing in order to survive, to succeed, to get scores. And I think in very recent weeks, prior to me kind of giving myself also a seasonal break, there was this element of needing to do more matches, needing to succeed, to get superior. And it's part and parcel of some of the activities that came in through, you know, the outbreak and seasonal content. People wanted to get the best possible gear, for instance, you need to complete challenges, you unlock certain weapons, etc., etc. So I thought giving a few weeks off and having a kind of a breather, when you you have a look at some afterthoughts and maybe reorganizing a few things a bit, will give us a very, very good fresh start with the same group of people. And also we really had a wonderful community-based content every single day here live online. What I try to say is that we had a couple of members who were finding it a bit difficult, because the usual way of gaming was based on kind of a mature adult type of approach, manly, you could, in inverted commas you could say, a sort of a strategy which doesn't really gel in too well with what I do live online. And it needs to be made sure that people who are wanting to be doing the games like that will have no place here live online, as it is clashing both with mine and Twitch rules. And there will be other forums and other places for them to connect with others. And also the regiment provides quite a number of people already. We have more than 30 members of our regiment, and therefore I think, compared to what I've done within the first 6 months of our community, where I was bringing in lots of members of our regiment to our live streams, this is something that I'll organize differently in the future. So we'll have bookings, we'll have a smaller group of people participating in order to streamline the community-based content. I think that is going to be the major difference, which means people have to be basically throwing the bids in for live online participation, and it's identical to what I did have with Destiny, as at one point we were inundated with requests, and my channel was the only one that was streaming Destiny at that time on Twitch every single day, and I was streaming Destiny for about 6 hours a day, which meant a large number of participants were coming in and asking for their contributions, and I've given them a good shot and plenty of opportunity to be connecting with the rest of us. But I also have to be careful, because first of all we have the rule that prohibits children who are 13 and younger to be live on air to start with, and then everyone who is 13 to 18 needs to have a parental permission. Destiny is a game that attracts a lot of children, so there are some areas of concern that certainly had to be looked at. And I think with Warzone we've been looking at maybe the elements of what I would call how do I put it, a degree of competitiveness, that comes in, and I don't want really any of our activities to be driven by anything like that. And I want community content to be always pleasant, easily accessible, all-inclusive, and nice for people to listen to. For instance, if you're doing some other work. In fact, Playmore UK, one of our regular contributors here and a dedicated veteran of so many different games and all platforms, in fact, he said that frequently when we were doing our Warzone streams, he would just leave us on his mobile and he would be doing work. He works in industry, and then he'd be listening to all of our comments and news and content because he found it really funny and hilarious. And he didn't even watch, the activities, so just listening to what we said, which was very, very highly entertaining. And that was just the best possible compliment that I could have had. Anyone coming in who would be pursuing the scores would ruin that degree of connectivity. And I think that's one of the things that I've been sort of toying with and looking at what would be the best possible way through which some of these streams could be run. With due respect, I mean, it's all fine. Somebody wants to be chasing scores and collecting kills and all this, but that's not what we do here on the channel. We come in here, to have a lot of fun, to talk, to chat. We're not here to be pushing, shoving, and looking for the next one. If we played one match a day and talk for about 3 or 4 hours, that's all good for me. So, in short, Warzone is presently on a break. I'm just looking at a few ins and outs, also discussing that with the moderators in Twitch on what we can tweak in order to make it maybe a bit more mature and a lot more, yet again, family friendly. And I think the ideas I described are probably sufficient. We also want our community to grow, and I was astonished to see that so many people watched our matches, but I think it's also due to the fact I use Restream for different platforms, and people watched us quite a lot on Twitch playback, and I know that some of our community members also making clips from the activities that we had, and I think I'll try to make that a policy in the future, that very quickly after the stream was completed, we'd have it on YouTube, and then everyone can basically make clips, and that would be something that I'll stimulate amongst community members to make maybe 30 to 120-second clips which can be shared on Instagram, Twitter and other platforms in order to attract other community members. We just make it very interactive, like funny things. And we had a situation where Carter, for instance, discovered a truck that was stuck on a fence and it just looked completely unmovable. It's a little crazy. And Carter got in the truck and he managed to get it going, and he turned into a helicopter. It was hilarious. It was just fantastic, and I documented it with a clip and a couple of screenshots. At other times, there was another time where he also wanted to land a helicopter on that same truck, and he did it. It was really funny, and it's that sort of activity that makes our bond grow. It is really a very, very good kind of community-based effort amongst us all, and I feel privileged to have had a group of people who were selected through random matchmaking, but actually connected so well with others. But to be fair, I did single out several people who I thought had such good social skills, and they were so grateful that degree of online communication, and that really paid the dividends big time. So yeah, so thank you for your question, and thank you for your support. First of all, make no mistake, Warzone will be back very shortly, and we are going to be cracking on with many more matches, but in a somewhat different format. I think it will be probably having a greater sense of control over who's coming to the live online forums, and we've had quite a string of players coming in, and it'll be a mixture. We'll have the regulars if they can't come in. We'll have maybe a few randoms, to expand on the regiment, and also I had several community members who joined us towards the end of the recent season, and they will be also joining us on Discord. Really, dedicated, mature gamers, people who are sort of 30, 35 plus, and people who are doing it exactly for the same reason, to connect with other friends worldwide. And as I said, one of our community members told us that he's not watching the news anymore because he gets all the news from his European friends who are basically located in different countries. So that's fantastic. That's just what the chap from Microsoft was telling us about, that a game becomes a social network, and that's extraordinary, and it will be growing. It'll be growing. There'll be many more people coming in, and they find it's a bit like what people did with watching football and any other competitive sports, or people who like films, or people like myself who were going to live music events. You were always going to the same place because you were going to meet the same people, and you were there for that reason alone. It was just all part and parcel of, you knew exactly when they're going to get there, to queue up for tickets, what drinks you will have, what kind of fun you'll have later on, where you go afterwards. It was always music events ending roughly around 11 o'clock, and then kebabbing it afterwards. It was just every single night, and it's great, Gone today. People do not connect in the same way anymore because we have social networking, we have WhatsApps, and it's not the same thing anymore. I lived through it all. I've seen it all over a very long period of time, and it saddens me. But at the same time, the new ways give us also new opportunities, and we shouldn't be just discarding it as bygones are just bygones. Well, no, it's not true. I think what I had in real life, I have today live online, and it is a lot more fertile on an international scale because I can have people everywhere, around the world. And as you've seen in our squad, one member from Sweden, the other from Germany, the third one from England, the fourth one from Luxembourg, and we talk together. Or another squad, one person from Finland, the other from Portugal, the third one from France, the fourth one from England. There's got to be always someone from England. It's not I'm such a huge patriot, which is what I am, but it's because of my channel. It will be either myself or Spurs or Carter who will be on board, and we'll just wave the flag, basically. It's as simple as that. It's funny because Spurs is Scottish, but there you go. Spurs, if you're listening, you're going to bust my legs, I know. So there you are. Alright, so that was all from our community, and thank you to our friends from Brighton, from London, and from Manchester for sending us all the information. And every single day our podcast will be dedicated also to our community. Sometimes we'll start out on the community content from the beginning, like today. At other times it will come towards the end. But the most important thing is we've looked at everything that came to us from our dedicated viewers and listeners, and yet again, for the umpteenth time, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It's truly astonishing, so many people come in and talk, and I'm always really, really, truly grateful. But we are now going to be looking at the news. And you know what? There is one bit of news which I want to share with you, and that is connected to what I watched last night, right? And you probably will know what this is going to be about. Well, on Thursday there was a major presentation coming for the first time from one of my favorite publishers and developers, Square Enix, and it was really well done. And I watched it last night in full because on the night before I just watched some clips, and I've got to tell you, Sony, you were put to shame, because Square Enix did everything right from the word go, from the moment when the broadcast kicked off. It was just absolute perfect A to Z on how to present the new arrivals. Everything was there. Great presentation, wonderful animation and graphics, great developer diaries, great involvement from people who are in the publishing of these games, as well as some of the other commentators belonging to Square Enix. It was absolutely tip-top, and most importantly, did provide us with quite a variety of different games, beautifully presented. You could tell straight away that some of them were really true heavyweights, like for instance Outriders, but you really got to know so much about these games that was necessary for you to feel interested, and that was just the full package, the full Monty for me. I loved it, and I'll rewatch it again just for the sake of that, presentation quality, the ability of those people who worked on it. It was truly remarkable. But most importantly, let's have a look at what is said. We did see, first of all, that Outriders is waving the flag, And I'm surprised because I've heard about the game quite a bit, but I didn't realize that Square Enix were banking on it so much. They probably realized that the open world that the game has, together with the recent partnership that they established with Microsoft, is going to be paying huge dividends. And to be fair, Outriders are the first ever third-party game that was given that degree of prominence on the Game Pass. All the other games there previously were either owned by Microsoft or closely affiliated, and you can talk about Bungie and Destiny as being the other third party being brought in, but Bungie is not really a stranger to Microsoft because previously they were owned by the corporation and they worked on Halo, and but this company that worked on Outriders, People Can Fly, is definitely a stranger to Microsoft, and it's the first big corporation collaboration that they have, and I'm quite certain that with Microsoft fully involved, they'll have very few problems with FPS and all the other issues that were popping up on Push Square, Eurogamer and Games Radar as the demo unraveled. So we've seen two separate trailers. One gave us a very good developer diary, so it was like a proper in-depth introduction on all that Outriders would provide us with, and this was just jaw-dropping. Does look very much like Destiny in some areas, and some of the weapons and outfits remind me of some of the seasonal content, but the flavor of the game is much closer to Mass Effect and Anthem, specifically through its battle sequences, which I really adore, and played a lot of it on PlayStation and Xbox, and completed the demo several times, harvested quite a bit, and have really good scores there to be imported once the game comes out. As obviously I am a dedicated Xbox fan and Ultimate subscription member, then I'll have it on the 1st of April for free. I'll be able to stream it here, and I'm certainly hoping that Outriders is going to be our new community of gamers. We have, quite a number of other communities here already. Destiny, The Division, Elder Scrolls, Apex, Warzone, just to name a few. Halo and Mass Effect are very close to that as well. And, we want to see what our Outriders community is going to be like. Very likely to be combining the members of the communities that belong to games like Destiny, Anthem and Mass Effect, because it does comprise the elements of these, and I'm quite certain that people will be very, very keen and very enlightened by all that is to follow. Yet again, Square Enix Presents was giving us a very lengthy introduction to the game, and for anyone who had not tried the demo previously, I can assure you, after watching that demonstration there, they will absolutely download it immediately and try it literally from scratch. It's a lengthy demo. You are getting the prologue as well as the chapter 1, and there is a lot to do there in open world. So all you harvest, all you complete, all the loot, armor, everything is going to be importable, so you can just bring it all to your full game once you get it, and I will be importing it on the 1st of April once I start out yet again, and I think I will probably start the game from the very beginning, irrespective of the fact I spent a lot of time, probably about 120 hours on those two separate platforms combined, maybe 60 per platform, or maybe 80 and 40 or so, hard to tell. I think I played more on Xbox than on PlayStation. Nevertheless, it did perform better on PS. So that's Outriders. Then the other big thing they talked about on the demo, which I really liked, was the anniversary of Tomb Raider, 25-year anniversary, and we obviously heard that they will be giving us the new Definitive Survivor trilogy, which is fully remastered and also kitted up for 4K and next-gen consoles. I've got to say, after watching it, it really is jaw-dropping. The graphics, the animations are much enhanced. They feel smoother, they look really much more of the next-gen type of thing, and very excited about this. And anyone who likes the Uncharted will love Tomb Raider, and you want to have that edition. Yesterday we talked a bit about excuse me, I just lost my voice. And to get a hot drink, bear with me. Yesterday we talked about those new editions, remastered editions, and I had a message from Sally, who is in Wisconsin, and she was saying, well, what's the idea behind all these remasters, inclusive for Gears 5 and the recent games? It's all about the money, isn't it? But I dispute that. I disagree very, very strongly, because if you were to be doing Gears, and if you are on Xbox, and if you were to if you were playing the game previously, and if you were to access what's available today on Game Pass, you would see a tremendous difference. There's a lot more attention to detail, and all the monsters and beasts and all the enemies and the characters look really, really frightening, and you could almost see every single scratch on the beast's tooth, right? So it's when you look at the jaws, you can see every single detail. Therefore, the game is no longer a sci-fi shooter; it becomes like a survival-struck horror game, and that's the difference. The tech is moving on, and the games will look much superior, and they will play better on those remasters. So it is not about the money; it's all about the quality of that experience, and I'm absolutely 10 out of 10 for it. Just, high five. It's just, I love it. And anyone who was comparing the old with the new, and particularly if you're playing it on the next-gen consoles and top-notch setups like 4K OLED TVs, you will be able to see the difference immediately. The game will be, well, give an example. I'm playing Fallout 3 and streaming it here, and I played it previously on 360. To be fair, can't be compared to Gears 5, which came out 2 years ago and it's been remastered already. But in any case, the game I'm actually doing right now in streaming looks much superior to anything else I've seen from Fallout 3 previously. It's just jaw-dropping. The quality graphics, the smooth gameplay, and they did say they worked on the improvement of FPS, and I can see it immediately. It just feels so smooth. And I remember the old game being not quite choppy, but at times. And on 360 I have Game of the Year edition physical copy. Not playing it today. I'm playing it on the digital download, which I purchased for nothing. I got it for like £1, £2.20 or something, and then all the other DLCs all was sold for 75p each. So I paid for the full game, the Game of the Year edition, probably less than £10, and it looks incredible. So I'm not, I'm absolutely in favour of this. Coming back to Tomb Raider, we are going to be loving it and enjoying it, and I have all 3 installments. I played all of them. They're great games. They're very similar to the Uncharted. There's a lot of puzzles and climbing, and you'll be familiar with all the stuff that Naughty Dog introduced in the Uncharted. It's very well developed in Tomb Raider. So definitely a game for me, and the presentation there was also providing us a lot of excitement. If the best thing about Square Enix presentation is what they did was they gave you a presentation which was open to anyone who's never heard anything about any of these games, right? So, and after watching the presentation, you were going to be very interested, and you were going to be doing these games. So that is the bottom line. That's the success of that presentation. And I think for anyone who was bored of Tomb Raider, so they didn't enjoy anymore playing it, they will say, wow, this is really looking good. We want to do it again. And you know what? If you got the old game, you download the new one and then compare. Some of the games on Microsoft, I need to stress this, the exclusives, like for instance the Master Chief Collection, Gears 5, and what are the other ones? Just to mention 2, which obviously present you with the very best of the content. Anytime you are accessing the game through Game Pass, you will be getting the latest state-of-the-art edition. So if they do any remasters or any other updates or any inclusions, you will be getting it through your subscription. You will never go back to the old. To be fair, the Master Chief Collection gives you this option as well. So you just click on the options button and you go back to the old. But that's for the dedicated gamers and collectors who were doing it in 2002. But otherwise, the new updates and the upgrades will always be applied, and therefore you'll be getting the latest state-of-the-art edition, and that is yet again another reason as to why you need to join that online streaming services community. Well, to be fair, I was very excited as well after I watched Marvel's Avengers Roadmap, because the game didn't seem to perform too well initially on release, and I played, I think it was it alpha, beta? You remember me streaming it here? It was really good. I loved it. And I was amazed with the fact that within that segment of the game I could just play all the characters, get introduced every one of the Avengers, try out the different abilities. But I believe I've not played the full game, so I'm not the person to say, but I believe there were lots of technical issues and that was really hampering the effort, and some people felt there wasn't enough content and there were other issues. Anyway, the roadmap is providing us with a lot of new characters and plenty of inclusions, inclusive of the Black Panther Wakanda, what's it called? War for Wakanda expansion. So there's a new expansion coming in already. So it's quite soon after the game was released, and looks very, very good. And the new content will attract certainly a lot more interest and many new followers. So a very exciting roadmap. And for instance, I'll give you just a bit of what they said. They have the full content for 2021. They're laid out. If you are to be accessing the tweets which are left on my Twitter, you'll be able to get all the information. These tweets are connected to Marvel Avengers and Marvel's Avengers, a big one, and also to Xbox Wire. So all of that is there. Some of the slideshows and some of the screenshots and all the information, but just read it out for your own personal benefit. So we have, first of all, in March, which is obviously right now, Operation Hawkeye Future Imperfect, and then it's for next-gen consoles. You get new hero, new villain, a new story, free upgrade to next-gen, reassemble campaign replay, and customizable harm room. So that's the new content for March. In spring, be Tachyon Anomaly, play as any combination of your favorite heroes, and Tachyon missions scale for player levels between 1 and 100. Then you have another one which is also attached to spring, Red Room Takeover. Enter the Red Room with new themed harm room content, new hero outfits. I wonder whether this Red Room is going to be similar to what we have in the Division with Dark Zone. It's possible, but we'll have to look. We'll have to wait and see. And it'd be good if you had also a mixture of PvP and PvE content joined together, because that makes it very challenging, and I think a lot of people really like that sort of thing. It's ideal for co-op and quads and squads, because if you're doing it with a squad, it's a lot more fun and you can replay it and try out different tactics and strategies. So Summer and Beyond, Cosmic Cube, you're getting new Scientist Supreme Villain Sector. You'll confront the unchecked power of the Cosmic Cube. Don't forget they're facing lots of enemies with lots of special powers, so mastering special powers there will be very, very important. Then Wasteland Patrol, new Warzone missions type patrol mode, new war zones and assignments within the Wasteland region. And then also they are having the expansion. I'm not exactly sure when the expansion will come out. I think probably in the summer. War for Wakanda, and that will be new hero Black Panther, then new hero outfits, which is great. I mean, Chadwick Boseman died unfortunately, and he was a phenomenal US actor. I watched lots of his less well-known films recently, and I cried. I cried because I felt such huge talent was sadly lost so early. And it reminds me of what happened to James Dean. He was the very best of American acting of today, ideal for any role, a full character actor, method actor who could play anyone on stage, from Shakespeare through Chekhov or any other, and then become a superhero in Black Panther or Marvel Avengers, and then move to detective stories, or play a musician in a biopic. Just really, really versatile and so convincing and so emotional. His performances, really is. It's a tragedy, and also just to conceive that the main bulk of the films we've seen in the last 5 to 6 years were being made as he was receiving treatment for cancer that he had, and try to think of the strain, the stress, the pain he had to go through. It's just truly inspirational. It's heroic. It's saintly. That's just the way I can describe it. And I certainly think that War for Wakanda here in the game almost certainly have some references to Chadwick, and it's fantastic to see. It's absolutely wonderful. And as I said, you'll have the outfits, you have new hero, that's going to be Black Panther, power level cap increase, new villains including Claw, new Claw faction enemies, new story, new Wakandan jungle biome, new outpost, and the list just goes on and on. So also we had additional content and features, Omega level missions, multiplayer mega hives, post level 50 progression, outfits inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, ongoing improvements, balance tuning, gear and progression, collectible comic system, and matchmaking. Really, what's interesting is I'd say I want to make a reference to what we heard the other day on Xbox Podcast in relation to Fallout 76, and it was coming from Todd Howard, the top guy at Bethesda, and they talked about one of the other executives who was helping them to bridge the gap when they released the game, because he realized that the game was not going to be performing. There were lots of issues, and he said, okay, we got it wrong and the game's just not doing well, but you know what, now we have like 3 months ahead, let's get it right, let's make something fantastic, and therefore let's make a proper game, let's bring our people together, let's provide something for our customers and people who invested. And they did exactly that. So a year later, Fallout 76 became a fantastic game, like really worked through perfectly with new story missions and new activities, and I think Marvel Avengers is a game of the same sort. It didn't perform technically, there were issues initially, but they will do everything possible to make a perfect blend for online gaming activity and with a lot more content. And later people just forget about it. People forget that Destiny 1 had lots of problems initially during year 1, and during year 2 I think it became the game that we know today. And with all the expansions, particularly with the Taken King, we had then a full diversity of activities, characters and everything else. And for a game on a live server, the game that's providing live services 24/7, it is a huge task and it's a learning experience. So I really look forward to all that is to come from Marvel's Avengers, looking really, really good. And then we had also the other big game introduced, and it really was mouth-watering, honestly. The company that has worked now on Life is Strange True Colors did a fantastic job. But to tell you the truth, the elements of True Colors are blending in with the gameplay and the environment of Tell Me Why. And Tell Me Why was a huge hit and success and Microsoft exclusive last year, which we both played and streamed online. We've not finished it. We've gone down the episode 2, we've not gone to episode 3. So watching trailers yesterday and the presentation just made me more determined to bring back Tell Me Why maybe next week or week after in order to complete the game, because we kind of had good continuity, and anyone interested, you can just go back in time, go to rewind to our streams from last year, all on YouTube, and then we'll just carry on and complete the game. I want to complete the game before True Colors is released, because as soon as it's released, we are going to be playing it. We'll have access on the first day through Xbox Game Pass, and it is yet again a mystery embedded within the same well-known Life is Strange universe. And you'll have also a twist there, with one of the characters will have some supernatural powers, and trying to find out what happened to a brother who sadly disappeared or died. And the assumption is that perhaps it was suspect rather than just a tragic accident. And very, very beautiful introduction to the game, with the girl who does the singing being the person introduced the story and all activities. And also we had several other participants, the lead actress popping in and telling us a bit about herself and how she was participating in the creation of the game. So really wonderful presentation, really terrific. And if you really never heard of Life is Strange, after watching it you would want to go there straight away. You want to be there on the first day to experience everything. And it also looked fantastically well developed when we watched the lead character. Her name is Alex Chen, as she played Radiohead's song Creep, and it was just so beautifully done. It was just so emotional and so how to put it, so contemporary. The song's been around for many, many years, and I watched it live, and Radiohead played big festivals and big venues like Brixton Academy. But to see that in a video game and being done in a way as it was yesterday, simply staggering. And I'm absolutely bought 100%. I want to play this game on the day one, present it to my community, and everyone should head to Square Enix presents straight away in order to experience this. So really, really absolutely top notch. And also towards the end, they said similar to what they introduced earlier with Lara Croft. They are offering us the new Life is Strange Remastered, which is called Life is Strange True Colors Ultimate Edition, and the Ultimate Edition will have everything that ever would have come out on Life is Strange, and the remastered version will be part and parcel of it. So they were also providing us a few clips, and evidently, the remastered edition looked wonderful, beautiful colors and fantastic graphics, and everything seemed top notch. So always great to revisit, and it's a new thing, and similar to what we had with certain games being remade, we are likely to be witnessing many more titles being both remastered and remade in order to provide a more enjoyable, more immersive experience to the same community of people who enjoyed it initially. And I just really can't wait to see some of these games really on our platforms. So that was all in response to Square Enix Presents. And then yesterday we also had the usual weekly introduction of all the novelties through this week on Xbox. But I really advise everyone, irrespective of what platform you play your games on, whether you're a PC gamer or whether you're on PlayStation or indeed on Xbox, make sure that every Friday you watch that this week on Xbox, because they will present the games that indeed will be released on Xbox, but you'll get to know all about what's happening in the industry, all the top games out there. In addition to that, listen to the podcast. Again, every Friday, every Saturday, depending on your region. Make sure to listen to it, because the podcast gives you a wealth of information on everything and anything that's video gaming related. They talk a lot about Xbox, but they also do spend time discussing all the other issues which update the industry concerning developers, concerning the tech staff, concerning all the people working in publishing, and the guys working on gadgets, people producing new controllers, people who work on cosmetics, like for instance outfits you can buy, etc., etc. So very, very illuminating and very inspiring, because Jeff and Larry have such passion for video gaming, and I mean, I can't think of anyone being more inspirational to myself as those two guys. Because even if I, for instance, hated video gaming, even if I had nothing to do with any of it, watching them would make me think, and that itself is quite something. You come in and you're completely against it, and then you are completely drawn in, and you're simply bored, and you want to do it yourself. It's that sort of presentation. So make sure you watch it. All right, so I'll tell you a bit about what they said. So we had several games introduced, and we've heard already earlier in the week that Outriders will be released on the 1st of April through Xbox Game Pass, and you can buy it if you want on some special editions and various things on offer. But for all of us, I think as we are subscribed to the service, we are going to be trying it through the Game Pass on that day. I'll preload, and I'll hopefully be able to stream it on that very, very date. It's the 1st of April, its release date, but I can assure you this is no kind of April Fool's joke kind of thing. It's just absolutely confirmed. It is going to be there on the 1st of April. And they also will have Octopath Traveler, a game that we are very excited about, and then Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. So really, anyone interested in very immersive open worlds with some fighting sequences and story-driven content, Yakuza Trilogy has been remastered, and you can just hit on a button that says download. Make sure it gets as fast as possible to your console, and just enjoy. And Jeff is the person who really drew me to Yakuza. I played a bit of Yakuza both on PlayStation, on PS Now services, and I've tried, I think it was what was it? It was one of the installments that they offered through free play recently, and I really want to find out more, because Tokyo and the characters in there, as he described, look absolutely incredible, and the story-driven content does sound very interesting, because I'm a great fan of Japanese cinema and Yakuza series as well, and that will certainly draw me in straight away. A perfect blend of story-driven content and fighting and everything blending in perfectly. And also from their discussions on Xbox Podcast, I got to know that there are lots of challenges and there are lots of bits and pieces there which you can collect and you can work hard for. And most importantly, as both Jeff and Larry were in Tokyo, they said that the actual city and certain areas in the town center were so beautifully reconstructed that you can come in there and you can recognize every single place. And for myself, I want to play Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion in my local area where my offices were around Old Street and Clerkenwell, and recognize every single number plate, every single sign, as well as any of the buildings in the area, and it's a true delight, so a no-brainer. EA Play is coming to PC for Xbox Game Pass members starting from today. It means that EA Play is now downloadable to PC through Xbox Game Pass, and all the games that you will have, about 80 of them so far, that joined the service last year, are now accessible through your PC. So make sure, if you are a huge fan of top-notch graphics, if you love doing everything on your PC, to download ASAP, and make sure you do Mass Effect and Anthem and Battlefield and all the other games, Dragon Age of course, on your PC. So we have 5 legendary Bethesda titles getting the FPS boost treatment on Xbox Series, and let me just see, they said, I think it was Dishonored Definitive Edition, so that's Dishonored 1, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, well that's great because I've got it here and it's fully installed, Fallout 4, Fallout 76 and Prey. Right. So it does say here, it doesn't say that Fallout 3 was being redone, but I can tell you they reworked it since I played it last, and it looks incredible. So there's been a lot of work done on it, but obviously it's the old gen, the 360 game, and some of these games, like for instance Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, are basically Xbox One games, and Skyrim Special Edition I played recently, and I was amazed by both modding and the quality. It just came across as a totally different game, but it did have a problem with frame rate. It was choppy, and you can really tell when the character walked to certain areas. I was getting a bit of lag in there, affecting my brain. I could feel a bit of not sickness, but it affects me. I can't even describe exactly what happens, but anyway, these are 5 games. So remember, Dishonored Definitive Edition, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim Special Edition, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Prey. Prey is a fantastic game. You've got to play the shooter. It is incredible, and if you like Half-Life or Crysis, you will just absolutely get hooked. Alright, so that is all to do with Bethesda. We have Doom Eternal and the Ancient Gods Part 2, so that will be launching today, yesterday, so that's already accessible for Doom Eternal. If you are indeed playing the shooter, make sure you update your game, and then you can access War Against Hell. And I've not played this game at all, I have to confess, and maybe as part of Macbeth Festival we are going to be able to crack on with some Doom, and I'll probably start with the original just to spice it up, and then we'll try also the latest game, very very popular amongst everyone who's a fan of FPS. And well, I'm the guilty party, it's me who's not tried it, but loads of games are there, and I need to come with a different system, because I'm downloading lots of games that don't occupy that much space, and some games that I assume to be departing fairly shortly from the streaming services, and therefore have no space on my console. So I think I'll follow Larry's advice. He said it will be sufficient to use an external drive, which is, I think, he said 12 gigs in size, and that would basically cover all the games that are on the Game Pass. I believe that probably was the case at the beginning of last year. If you're looking at the games that presently we have, we probably need about 2 or 3 of these 36 gigs. But I need to get one of these in order to make sure that I can easily access lots of different games, and instead of just needing to download again and delete some of them, which is causing obviously some issues from time to time. It's much nicer to have everything installed and you just click and you play, and that's it. and the next-gen console is making it very, very fast as well. So I've seen today, while I was in town, going for a vaccine, both Xbox Series X and Series S, and I was astonished with the size, because even Xbox Series X is quite small. It's a miniature compared to the usual that we had with our previous Xbox sets, and Xbox Series S is tiny. It's just literally portable. You can take it wherever you go. So really good stuff. Hawkeye and Xbox Series X and S optimization available in Marvel's Avengers. So one of its most iconic members is joining Marvel Avengers today, which was yesterday, Operation Hawkeye, and he is arriving as a playable character. He's bringing more than just his boy with him to the game, so we have optimizations as well. So that's really cool, and that will make sure that when you watch, it's going to be next gen from the word go at 120 FPS, you name it, absolutely top notch. They also announced yesterday the next big thing coming out of Xbox, and that is the idea of Xbox and Twitch, and they're launching a stream which will be delivered on March 26th. Very excited about this. They'll talk about lots of indie games, and we'll get up to, I think, did you say 20 or 30 different demos which you can download instantly and then try out on your console. So that's really cool, and you will be familiar with the idea that Xbox is a separate channel as well. They always introduce independent games, and Microsoft's been really very, very busy with the introduction of various indie games through the streaming platform Xbox Game Pass, and I played loads of those in there. Very grateful to Microsoft for supporting their efforts and giving us this opportunity, because the vast majority of us will not be purchasing this game separately, and it's really terrific. And lots of these games are really interesting, and last year when they gave us that Indie Demo Festival, I think it was about, was it 80, 75 demos? I still haven't gone through all of them. I've gone through about 35, and the other day I discovered 2 or 3 that were still installed and not played them yet, but many of those are very, very good indeed. So make sure that on the 26th of March you will be watching the presentation. The presentation is going to be on Twitch, so it's the first big collaboration since they discontinued with Mixer, which indeed was a very, 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 very dubious streaming platform. I have to say I've used it. I still have all of the streams I've done on Mixer within February of 2020 on my computer, and it's just like really, really, really bad. Really didn't perform. Loads of technical issues, and I lost some of the streams because it wouldn't record properly. And anyway, less said the better. So coming back to it, on the March, I'm losing my voice yet again. What is going on? Hang on. On March the 26th, that presentation is going to be accessible through well, let me see where. It's both Twitch and Xbox, but they will be introducing more than 100 games. Well, the numbers are just going up and up. Introducing tons of independent titles, including brand new game announcements from developers and publishers like Drinkbox Studios, Curve Digital, Devolver, etc., etc. Will debut new trailers and gameplay for more than 25 games that include Second Extinction, The Ascent, Wild at Heart. Update on Stalker 2. I'm very excited about this. I really want to play Stalker 2 on its first day, and I'm a huge fan of the original game. Played it on my PC, loved it, and be very exciting to see how Stalker 2 is going to perform on consoles. So they'll be making more announcements about indie titles coming to Xbox, etc., etc. So 9 o'clock PM Pacific, March 26th, so that's 4 o'clock PM in the UK. So really on Friday the 26th, which is basically next Friday, I will discontinue my stream, and what I want to find out is whether I can stream that presentation through my channel, because generally we need to sometimes connect and authorize the other streamers' channels, but I'll investigate this during this weekend, and I'll let you know, because it'd be great if I can be streaming some of these presentations through my Twitch channels for all of us to watch together. you know, all of us can watch it, and we can all then provide a review immediately afterwards. So I really want to work this out. If that's possible, that's exactly what we'll do. So that will be on twitch.tv/Twitch Gaming. Okay, so remember that. It's the main platform for Twitch when they're introducing something new. And on the other hand, you can go to twitch.tv/Xbox. And I've got to say, I need to check out what Xbox was streaming to Twitch so far since the demise of Mixer. I'm really quite interested. So that's exactly where you will be able to see it. Okay, so let's see what other things we've got. Undertale lands on Xbox Game Pass, and Undertale is coming to Xbox. Well, you will know that this is a very, very popular, very exciting platformer. It's the old gen, the retro style kind of PC type game. And Undertale will be coming. Well, it's already arrived, in fact, and it's not really new to the gaming world. In fact, this past September, we celebrated the 5th anniversary of its original PC release. So this game's not too old, but it just looks very retro from the 90s. And there was a free concert stream on YouTube, which indeed is highly recommended. And the wonderful thing about this game is that, despite its retro-inspired visuals, which will bring back the memories of 16-bit classics of yesteryear, the experience itself is very much fresh and distinct. So it's a bit like merging the two worlds. You have the dialogue that's very contemporary, the activity that's basically present day and age, and then the retro outlook. So every monster is an individual, every interaction is unique, you can choose to do lots of different things, and this is a truly standard RPG gameplay. So no surprise, the game continues to surprise and delight new players to this day. So if you've been paying attention, you may have noticed that the after-mentioned PC version of Undertale has been available on the Microsoft Store for quite a while. So the Xbox version provides a largely similar experience. There are a few Xbox-specific interactions. Just bear with me, I'm receiving some messages. I apologize for this, I was just receiving some messages, and we are not going to be able to squeeze them in today because the time's just about to run out, so I just want to squeeze in a few other bits of news which are equally important. So yeah, I was telling you about the Undertale, and because of the progress and save data between the two versions were not compatible, which means that some people lost some of the content. This means that, similar to previous console releases, the Xbox version features its own little shrine, and there is some exclusive content to look for. So it's been a long time coming, they said, and I'm not exactly sure what the lengthy tale story about this game is. I've not been really fully connected, but the game looks very, very interesting. And don't forget, for all of you who are in awe of the graphics that we get with Outriders or Fallout 76, do not underestimate the actual gameplay quality of these games, because these games are incredible. Okay, and there are games, particularly coming from the indie developers today, that will have this retro outlook, right? Because they have no resources, they can't build the graphics like the ones we have in Destiny, due to lack of money and everything else. And the content is what counts. The actual gameplay, the number of options. And I played loads of these games recently through Xbox Game Pass, and I was astonished. I just couldn't believe how incredibly enjoyable they were, and surprised, because I thought just like a game similar to the old. Actually, absolutely not. The Undertale is one of these. Just bear with me. Did it say? Certainly, it's on. Yeah, it is on Xbox Game Pass, of course. And just very quickly have a look. Yeah, that's right. I did receive some notifications yesterday. But you know, even for myself, as we are getting so many different announcements coming in from everywhere, it is quite difficult to keep up with all the titles. And you could see my podcast is fairly lengthy because there are so many things to be said. And hopefully I'm also making it quite interesting, and you can all, you know, get through it all together with me. I've not seen or heard anything otherwise so far, so all good. What else do we have? Oh, load more news. Look at this. That's incredible. The new Xbox wireless headset is available worldwide. They were introducing it on the podcast as well as elsewhere, and I have to tell you, I've got to have it. This I'm not really keen on wireless because I want everything to be connected to my console and equipment through USB. But I can connect it, you know, to everything with my cabling, so it's not a problem. But it did look really absolutely amazing with the quality, with the ease of use, and everything else. Also, it is fully Xbox compatible. What does cause me problems with my streams and gameplay altogether is the Xbox proprietary headset, which needs to go directly into the controller, and you know, it's short cable, and you move around, you forget about it, you drop everything, and you know, it's just a purely logistical issue. So having that Wi-Fi connectivity, which I believe use through I believe I can also plug in my USB cable, and then, you know, it's a lengthy cable, 4 meters long. It's no problem with me walking around and doing other things, and I love it. And it's not too expensive. It's about $99. I'll have a look whether I can get it on some discount for Amazon Prime, and definitely will be one of my major pieces of hardware here for my streams. It's a very high quality audio. So the other thing I'm excited about is Murder on Eridanos available through Xbox Game Pass, and that is blending in. It's the DLC for The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is a fantastic game. It's one of the best RPGs ever made, done by Obsidian Studios, and everyone will agree that when it came out a few years ago, it was topping all the lists, and there's so much to do, similar to Fallout, and you know, can't wait really to stream it in here and play it as well. And the DLC is concerning Halicon Colony and Halicon Helen, who gets killed, and you need to investigate it. So it's interesting, in the Outer World, where you have all the kinds of subplots, you're getting into a film noir style story-driven mission, and that is very, very much my cup of tea. We heard about Dwayne Johnson bringing Zoe Energy to gamers and, you know, introducing it, and then there's also your March Madness filled with NBA 2K21 on Xbox Game Pass, and you can be celebrating the tournament, and you are getting all sorts of things there. Let me just see what these things are. You can select 10 officially licensed college programs to choose from. Michigan State, UConn, Florida, Gonzaga, etc., etc. Then you can have the Ultimate My Career Story. You have College Pathway, which is incredible. Welcome to the City. I mean, in fact, you know, I'm absolutely a non-sports video gamer, right? So I've played one sports game recently, which was Descenders, and it was a cycling game, and didn't really particularly like it. Wasn't really my sort of game. It's I guess developed for people who are into extreme sports, you know, fast cycling and acrobatics and all sorts. But I've got to say, even after reading this, when I see all these options in there, it looks like this is a basketball game, and it has so much interesting content which requires a build-up and everything else. So really, really excited to see that, and really want to try it, and want to see how that really evolves within a game, because you'd imagine you're just playing matches. But then on the other hand, we have Welcome to the City, we have College Pathway, the Ultimate My Career Story. What happens then? What actually are we going to be doing? So really good, and I definitely want to have a look at it. And is it on the Game Pass? Yes, it is, of course. Well, everything's on the Game Pass, so you know, can't go wrong. Come on, get that subscription for $1. You get 3 months for free, or 1 month for free, depending on what region you live in, and just try all the games. And once you try it, you'll stay there forever. You need to allow a lot of time to play all the games as well. Don't forget that. So we told you all about Square Enix and composer Ryo Yamazaki creating music happiness for Balan Wonderworld. Oh yeah, I talked about it yesterday. And very important announcement is for all of our members who played or who are still playing Sea of Thieves. We did have Sea of Thieves here on the channel a little while back. I never really learned how to play that game properly, I've got to say, and ever since I started playing it initially, the game changed completely. It's like fully transformed, and it's a different game here today, so it's a fitting hour for us to go back and try out some of those pirate adventures. I'll try to get somebody to join me, and I think for the games like that I'll be using the message boards that are accessible through Xbox. We have, you know, community message boards, and also try to get people through Xbox ambassadors on Discord. And then if we get together, then I can have a buddy who can do it together live online with me, and you know, we can have immediate connectivity like what we had here with Destiny. And they're running their 3rd anniversary, so in addition to Blessed and Leashed during the first one, we are having to celebrate the first year of existence. We have 3 years here for the developer Rare, and indeed for the game. And we'll celebrate 3 years of Sea of Thieves with sales, events, and free commemorative cosmetics. Set a course to investigate Season 1's monthly update. And then let me see, what are we getting? The players who log in between March the 18th, March 25th, I'll miss out on this, will receive this year's anniversary gift, the Prosperous Captain Sales. If you're an Xbox Game Pass member, you can also receive the Jump for Joy emote by logging in between March the 18th and March the 21st. That's tomorrow. Well, hurry up then and get that perk. As part of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you'll be getting also the Sea of Thieves Ocean Crawler bundle for free. Well, you know, I keep collecting these perks, but when I go to a game that this perk should be applied, I don't seem to get anything. So I need to work out whether they're stashed somewhere, and I'm not really downloading them, or what. I'll try that. I'll try it tonight, actually. I'll download the game, and I'll try it and see what I can get the Ocean Crawler bundle. And then still need to pick up the game itself. You can obviously download it, offered on the price of 50% off if you want to buy it. Just subscribe to Xbox Game Pass. Don't buy the game at the moment. Just access everything on the Game Pass for free if you are a subscriber. Well, you're obviously on a subscription price, but the value is just incredible. We'll be running a special Golden Glory weekend from March the 19th to March the 22nd. Then grab the final set of Season 1 Twitch drops by tuning in to any of our Sea of Thieves partners between March the 19th and March the 23rd. Backstories of some of Sea of Thieves' main characters. The first issue of our latest Sea of Thieves Origins comic miniseries is available on Comixology now, so very, very good. And focusing on the exploits of Sir Arthur Pendragon as he forges his name as the Champion of Souls. It's interesting because they introduced the same concept in Apex. You're collecting similar kind of issues of comic strips, which will then build a selection of episodic content. Eventually you have a full collection. You can read it obviously back to back, and it's a really good idea, really my cup of tea. And then you also have the final update to Season 1, which goes live today, and you are getting up a brand new Vault Raiders event and introducing new wonders to the Pirate Emporium. So lots of different things. It's a very, very busy live service game, and most highly recommended. I think generally they were pushing Sea of Thieves quite a bit, but as we had Destiny included recently on the 10th of November last year, they've split in between these two games, because you always hear that these are the two games with the biggest community. And to be fair, Sea of Thieves has a very large community, but it's nowhere near the one that obviously Destiny accrued over the last 8 or 9 years. I think that's probably all the news I have for you today. Let me see. Yeah, the last bit of news is that you can be enjoying Rainbow Six Siege free of charge for the full week, which I mentioned I think on Thursday, and it's accessible on all platforms. If you're on Xbox, you can get it through your free play. It's the full week. You can try the game and enjoy it, and I think I will be introducing it next week. I will try to get some of my Warzone community members to come in and have a look, because if we are excellent in our tactical gameplay through Warzone matches, we can also apply some of the skills in Rainbow Six Siege. And very, very popular, the most popular tactical military simulation multiplayer on the planet, and it has lots of different operators, different missions and different maps, so definitely a very, very good game to try. So it's for free this weekend and until next Thursday, and we're also getting Dirt 5 on free play, which is a car racing game, and you can just download it and play it until I think the end of Sunday. Well, we do have some other news there attached to this week on Xbox, but I think what we'll do is we'll leave some of these for tomorrow. We've come to the end of our time. 2 hours of my daily podcast is just about enough, and I need to get my dinner, and I really need to stretch my legs, and I don't want to have you overloaded with all the news, because quite frankly, the information overload is massive, and it happens every single day. And keeping the tabs on all the games that keep coming in every single day is very, very tricky, and I'm doing my very, very best. I'm really sort of up to scratch with the news coming in on various platforms. I use Twitter for the collection of the very best. So for anyone who is in awe of everything that's happening in the industry, anyone who wants to know more, everyone's be kept abreast. You've got to be following my Twitter, because my Twitter has a combination of all sorts of news from everywhere. They include everything coming from the developers and publishers, i.e. the industry, all that's happening in our community, attached to Destiny, Warzone, and anyone else who's been here on the channel, all connected to our associates who are also streamers on Twitch. Also, it does represent some of my own personal gaming, be it here live online or through other platforms when I'm not broadcasting. So quite a mixture of things, and again, another information overload. I've had messages from some of our US friends who said, we love your Twitter, but you have too many postings per day, and they keep cluttering our news feed, so therefore we'll read you, but we'll not follow you. Well, fair enough, that's the best of the compliments, I'm doing it overtime in order for you not to follow, so I'm the best of complaints. I really thank the guys for popping in and reading, and sometimes they leave messages and send me also message support, and sometimes they retweet, but I can understand it, because I had the same problem with some of the other major hubs like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, and if they launch 150 news bulletins within a few hours, then obviously my newsfeed will be full of them. But on the other hand, these are in the know hubs. They provide you the latest, the state-of-the-art information that everyone needs to be having and knowing, and therefore I'm not going to be divorcing from them. But I understand our friends, and they will be reading the information that I publish. Anyway, for everyone else, hit the button follow, make sure you're on my Twitter, and then you can communicate directly, you can send me private messages, you can soak up all the news coming from us streamers and community members and the industry. Alright friends, so that's about it for today. Well, thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for enjoying the podcast. Most importantly, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart to all of our friends who are sending us messages and the questions and feedback, and thank you. As you know, the podcast is available immediately on Twitch through playback. It will also be archived on YouTube. I'm slightly behind with my YouTube uploads, but they will be updated, because I really want the YouTube to be reflecting my activity immediately within the first 24 to 48 hours, and that's exactly how it is going to be. So thank you for supporting the channel, for watching and listening to my podcast. If you have any other news, any other ideas, any other questions, if you want to give us some feedback, if you want to perhaps book a space here to be live online with us doing any of the games, if you have any ideas or suggestions of more games you want to see on the channel, if you want to come to our reviews, if you want to be a live online participant, if you want to be an associate streamer, send us a message and we will talk about it here on my podcast. So thank you, and I wish you all a very, very good night.